In this Lightburn projects tutorial, we're going to be creating some tags. So let's start by selecting the rectangle tool, and we click and drag on the screen to draw our tag shape. And I'm going to go with something like that, but you can choose whatever size you like, and you can also put in a specific sizing up here in the width and height section. Now we just need to grab the ellipse tool, click there, and I'm going to draw a circle, and I'm going to hold the shift key down while I do this so that I create a perfect circle. If I let go of the shift key, you'll see what happens. It turns into an oval shape, and I want it to be perfect, so if I hold the shift key down, it'll create a perfect circle for me. So I'm going to go with about that size. So this is the hole for the tag. Now I've got those two done, I'm going to come over to the select tool, click there, and I'm going to select everything. I need everything selected because what I want to do is make sure this circle here is perfectly centered. So I'm going to click and drag from the right here, and everything's selected now. So I can come up now to the centering tools here, or the alignment tools, and I'm going to click on this option here, and the option I want is align vertical center. Alright, so everything's perfectly aligned here. Now everything's still selected, so while it's selected I can do one of two things to get this all grouped together. I can actually select group, I can right click and select group, so that's one option, and I'll probably be doing that throughout this video just to keep the circle and the rectangle together, because otherwise when you move things around you might lose the alignment and that sort of thing, they'll come apart. So we want to group them, so you can either do that or you can use the Boolean tools here. You've got the three options along the side here. You can also select Boolean subtract, so that's another way of doing it. But I'm just going to right click and group. Okay, and that is my first tag done. You can see here now you can click on it and drag it down and resize it to whatever you like. For our next tag we just need to select the rectangle tool again, and again we're going to be drawing a tag, so I'll go with something like that. And what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to round the corners. So to do that, we come down here to the radius tool. If I click on that option, you'll notice this now is no longer grayed out, so we can make changes to the radius here. I'm going to go, hard to say at this point, but I'm just going to choose a random number here. Maybe I'll go up to 3, maybe up to 4, something like that. And what you do once you've selected the radius here, you come up to your shape, and you'll notice when you hover over one of the corners, or any of the corners actually, you'll get this little crosshair appear. And that means once you click on it, if I click there now, you can see it's made a massive change to the corners here. It's made them curved. Now that's way too much obviously, so I'm just going to undo there. I'm just Command Z or Control Z just to undo, and I'm going to bring that way down. These numbers might be different depending on the size of your grid and that sort of thing, and the size of your shape, so it'll just depend on what you're doing at the time. But if I bring that way down now, I'll stick with this sort of amount. Now come up here, let's try that. That's better, I like that. Okay, so I'm going to click on each of these corners like that. Alright, so now we've got this nice rounded tag shape, and again all we need to do now is come over to the ellipse tool, hold the shift key down while we create a circle, go with something like that. Then come over to the select tool and click there, and you'll notice with the select tool here, when I hover over it, it comes up with a keyboard command that you can use. Instead of coming back and forward over to here every time you need to press the select key, you can press escape on your keyboard, and that's a lot faster. So I'll be doing that from now on. I'll just be pressing the escape key. So that now gives me the select option, and then I'm going to click and drag from the right here just to select both the circle and the tag, so everything's selected. Come up to the centering tool, the alignment tools, and center. Okay, and then again I'm just going to right click and group, and that one is done. For this one we're going to be selecting the ellipse tool, click there, and while you hold down the shift key you want to be creating a circle. So this is going to be your tag. Now we need another circle for the hole there, so all we need to do, because we've still got the ellipse tool selected, is hold the shift key down and drag to create the circle. Now again we need to center this, so we need the select tool selected, so I'm going to press the escape key to do that, and then I'm going to click and drag from the right to select both the shapes, and then come up to align them. Okay, and then all we need to do now is right click and group, and there we go, we have another tag done. Start by clicking on the Polygon tool, and what you want to do is hold the shift key down while you click and drag to create your shape. Now that is a tag on its own, so all you need to do is do the normal thing. You create your circle, etc., and come up and align it and then group it. But what you can also do with these polygons is create different shapes from them. If I click on the side here and come over to this option, you see shape properties here. I can make changes to it. Now if you don't see that option, come up to window and select shape properties here. Make sure it's ticked. But once it's done, you can come over to shape properties and you'll see an option called sides here. And at the moment it's got 6 sides, the shape, so you can bring that up. And you notice I've got a different tag shape now. And again, more sides creates a totally different tag shape. And you can go all the way up to, I think it's 16. It keeps going until you've pretty much got a circle. But you can come back all the way down the other way and start creating a different shape. Again, you've got this sort of shape. You've got a square and you've got a triangle. So that's a way of changing up the shapes really easily to create different tags. Select the rectangle tool and draw your tag shape. So just click and drag to draw a tag. Go with something like that. And what we want to do is make some changes to this shape. So in order to do that, we need to convert it to a path. So to do that, we come up to Edit. And there's this option here, Convert to Path, so select that. So now that it's converted to a path, we can use these node tools that are sitting in this menu option here. You notice when you hover over it, you get lots of different options, but we're really only going to be working with the Insert Node Point option, which is the letter I on your keyboard. So click on this option, and if you come over here and run your mouse along the top line, you'll notice you get an arrow up here. But when you get to the center, it suddenly changes. See that? Changes to this circle. And then when you continue on, you get back to the arrow again. So you want to be at that center point where you see that circle. And when you get there, just press I on your keyboard and it'll add a node now. Now what you want to do is hover back over that, click with your mouse, and you want to click and drag upwards. And you can see now you can change this to a point. Now you'll notice it's doing this sort of thing. So in order to get that perfectly centered, there, you just want to hold the shift key, press the shift key on your keyboard. You notice it lock into place now. That's what we were after. So hold the shift key down and let go of the mouse, and now you've got this perfect pointed shape. Now that on its own is a tag. You can make that, drag that up a bit further if you wish, depending on the look you're wanting. Just always remember to hold the shift key while you're doing that. And you can add now your little tag hole here and convert that to a tag. Also, you can also make a variation on this by coming down to the bottom here. So again, we run our mouse along until we see that circle appear. And while it's down there, I'm going to press the I key on my keyboard. So I've got another node. And then again, I'm going to click and drag this up, holding the shift key again, just to get it. So I might put it about there, say, and let go. And that's done. Select the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle shape. So I'm going to draw something like that. And again, we want to convert this to a path. So remember, to do that, we come up to Edit and select this option. Now I'm going to be adding nodes again here. So I'm coming over to the node tool. And remember we said we run our mouse along until we find the center. And when you see the circle appear, you press the letter I. Now we want to add 2 more nodes, one here and one here. So in order to do that, we just run our mouse around this middle here between the 2. Remember, it's trying to find the middle always between 2 nodes. So you're going to get a circle appear here now between these 2 nodes. So it's showing the circle. So I press I on my keyboard. And same on this side. I'm just going to press I. Okay, so I've got 3 nodes there now. Now I want all of these 3 selected in the one go. But in order to do that, if I click on one here, you'll notice it turns red. But if I click on the next one, this one no longer is red, but this one is out. But I need all 3 selected. So in order to do that, I select one. And you can do one of 2 things. You can select one, hold the shift key, click there, and then click there. All of them are selected. Or alternatively, you can just click and drag to highlight all 3. And all 3 are now selected. So what we want to do now is we want to hover over the middle one, and then click and drag upward. And again, I'm going to hold the shift key down while I do this so that you see it's locking it into place, so it's perfectly centered there. And I'm just going to click and drag up. Now you can again make whatever sort of shape you want for your tag by dragging it up or down. I'll probably go with, say, something like that. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Your tag is now done, and you can do the usual thing by just adding the tag hole there and coming up and aligning it and so forth. So we need a rectangle for this one to start, so click that option and draw your rectangle. And for this one, I want the corners to be rounded. So remember that was down here with the radius tool. So select that, and I'm going to go with that radius, that's fine. And I'm going to click on each of the corners to get that rounded look. Now I need another rectangle, so I'm going to select the rectangle tool and click and drag to draw a rectangle, something like that. And I want to round the corners of this one as well. So back down to the radius tool, and I'll keep the same radius there, but I'm just going to click on the two top ones. I don't need the bottom ones done, just those two. And I want a circle now, so I'll grab the ellipse tool and draw a circle. Now this time I'm not holding the shift key down because I want this sort of as an oval shape. Something like that might do. Okay. Now I need to align all of these things, so I'm going to select everything. So I click and drag from the right, select everything, and then come up to the alignment tools and align vertical center. So that's perfect. And I might even, for this one here, I might even nudge that up a bit. I'm just going to move it up, hold the shift key down while I do it, and it'll just move up a bit. Okay, it's probably a bit better. I won't know until it's finished, but you know, you can always undo if you need to make changes. So we'll go with that. Everything's aligned nicely. So I'm going to click and drag from the right just to highlight everything. And then come over here to the weld option and select that. You can see that now everything is welded together nicely. And then finally, you just add, as always, the hole for the tag. Press shift and hold. And again, align them and group them, and you're done. So this is a variation on the one we just did. So we just select our rectangle as always and just draw that. And again, we want rounded corners. So I go radius and click on all of the four corners. And we're going to select the ellipse tool. So I hold down the shift key and draw my circle. And you can also draw it, make it a little bit longer, like elongated rather than a perfect circle. And I might just do that. I'll create it a bit longer. And I'm going to press the select key to just make sure I can highlight everything. So click and drag from the right to highlight both. Come up to the alignment, vertical center. Okay, now we want to come down to the, while everything's still selected, you want to come down to the weld tool. So we're welding that together. And there you go, your tag is done. So as you can see, I've already got my tag shape on the screen. And what we're going to do with this one is come over to Shape Properties. And if you, again, remember, if you don't see Shape Properties, come up to Window and down here and select this option. But otherwise, once you've got that, you've got corner radius now. And we're going to click on the up arrow, and you'll notice the shape change as I do this. We get the corner sort of edges, similar to the radius tool here. So it does it all in one go, which is really good. So we can move up and we create a different shape again, and then another shape again. So this is a great way of changing up the different shapes for your tags. But we can also go in the other direction and we get this sort of look, which is really nice. It creates a sort of a ticket look, like you've got a ticket. So that's just other ways of creating different types of tag shapes. Now for something a little different, we're going to come over to the circle tool or the ellipse tool, and I'm holding down the shift key while I draw a nice large circle here. And I want another circle, but it's already selected, so that's fine. I can just hold the shift key down now and create another circle, maybe about that size. So I'm just selecting the select tool and I'm dragging this down, and I'm dragging it so that it's sort of centered a bit. So you notice how the crosshair appears when things are centered nicely. So that's where I'm going to pop this. So let it go. And what I want to do is I want to create an array. So what we're going to be doing, we have to select this circle first. So I'm clicking on the edge of it to select that, holding my shift key down, and then I'm clicking on the edge of the larger circle and clicking there so that they're both selected. Now you want to do it in that particular order. You want to select the small one first and then the large one. If you don't do it that way, it won't work out the way we want it to. So we've got those two selected. We'll come over to the array tool here, circular array tool, click it, and you'll notice it's put 4 little circles there. You see how we've got copies here? So if I click up on the up arrow there, I can create more and keep going until I get that sort of look. Now I need to change the end point here because we're getting this big space here. So if I click, let's see if I go this way, because I want them to meet up. So I'm clicking and basically holding it at the moment so that they meet up. Now yours might look different depending on the size of the circle you created and that sort of thing. So it might work out a little differently, but this is the basic concept. So I want it to be, yep, equal there. And now I'm going to just create a few more copies here. You can see this one's still not quite lining up, so I need to move that end point again until it sort of matches the other. Maybe it's about there. Okay, so that's pretty much what I'm wanting. So I'll go OK for that. And then I will need to select everything. So I'm clicking and dragging from the end here just to select the lot. And I'll come over now and click on the weld tool. And there we go, we have our shape. For this one, we just need to click on the circle, or the ellipse tool, and I'm going to hold the shift key down while I draw a circle. And then I also need a triangle, so to draw that I'm going to use the Polygon tool. And I'm going to press the shift key while I draw it. And then to turn this into a triangle, I just click on the Shape Properties tab over here, and in the Sides option, I just click on the down arrow there until it forms a triangle. Now I need to make this a little smaller, so I'm going to select it, press the Escape key, or click on the arrow here, and I'm going to drag from the corner just to make it a little smaller. Now I need the point of the arrow to face towards the left here, so to do that I'm just going to rotate this. So you can see when you hold your mouse over any of the corners here, you get the little arrow, two-sided curved arrow. So while that's over there, hold down the Shift key and just turn, click and drag until the arrow, oops, gone too far, points that away. Now I'm going to click and drag it down to my shape here, and I'm going to put it somewhere around here where in the center here of the edge center of this circle. And you can see when I hold it there, I get this little circle appear. So it just allows me to sort of center it nicely. I'm going to come over now to the circular array tool, click there, and you notice we get this mess here. That's because I've done this incorrectly, so we'll cancel that. And what we need to do for that to work is we need to make sure we've selected this shape first, which I have, and then I hold down the Shift key and select the circle as well. So they're both selected now. Now make sure you do it in that order. The triangle has to be selected first and then the circle. Now come over to the array tool, click there, and there you go, that's a better option. But I need a few more copies because I've got these sort of spaces in between here. So I'm going to just increase the number of copies until those spaces kind of disappear. That's perfect, maybe one more. And you also notice though at the end here, this is not spaced. Everything else is right, but there's the beginning and the end. This is the beginning of it, and this is the end. So we need to sort of make sure we don't have this gap here. And see how we've got start and end? So if I adjust the end, I'm going the wrong way there, so I need to move the up arrow of the end one until it sort of comes over and matches the others there. So that's perfect. So I'll go OK. And then I want to select everything. So I'm just going to click and drag, highlight everything, and then come over to the weld tool and click there. And there you go, that's our shape. So we're going to create another round tag. So we come over and click the ellipse tool again and press Shift and click and drag to draw your circle. And I need another circle now, so I'm going to hold the Shift key down. And this time I'm drawing something a little smaller, so we'll go with that. And if you click on now the offset tool here, you'll notice you get this extra circle around there. That's what we're after. But I think I might make it just a little thicker. So you can click on the arrow here, up arrow, and I might go with that. That looks okay, and I'll go OK. Now I'm going to press the select tool because I want both of these selected. And then I'm going to click on weld. Okay, so we have this circle or framed circle, and I'm going to drag it over now to here, to the edge of this circle until I get that circle appear, which you can see just happened there. I might actually bring it in a little. Okay, so now we have that one already selected. I'm going to hold the shift key down to select the larger circle as well. I want everything selected, but make sure you do it in that order. So you want this one selected first and then the outside circle. And then we come over to the array tool, click there, and you can see you get this appear. Now that's probably too many outer circles for me, so I'm just going to click the copies here until I get it to appear something like that. So I want them to sort of line up with each other exactly on these points. Now you can see we have trouble here with the end bit again, so I'm going to run it backwards this time. So I'm clicking the down arrow until it gets to the same point as the other. So I'll keep going a little bit more. That's about right. So you've got the same amount of spacing here as here, so it sort of matches nicely. And I'll go OK. And then I'm going to click and drag from the right to highlight everything and come over to Weld. And there you go, that's your next shape done. Now we're going to do something a little different with this one. So we're going to come over to the text tool and click on that. And then I'm going to click on the screen. And what I'm going to do is type a bracket. So I'm holding the shift key down and I'm clicking on the bracket key on my keyboard, which is next to the letter P. Well, at least it is on mine, but it's the top bracket. So it appears like that. Now you can see when I type that, we get this sort of shape. And this is for this particular font, but you can use like all sorts of different fonts. You can see here you get a different look depending on the font you choose. And actually, let's try this one here. Right, I'm pressing the escape key just so I can select the shape. And I want a duplicate of this. Actually, I want 4, but I'll just start with the one. We'll go Command D. And it's selected. I'm holding the shift key while I drag this across. And then I'm going to rotate it. So I'm holding the shift key down while I do that. And then I'm going to go Command D again because I want a duplicate. And I'm going to hold the shift key down and rotate this one. And pop this up here. I want it to appear somewhere like that. You may need to play around with this just to adjust it to suit you. But actually I might want to make these two a little bit wider. So I'm just going to nudge this one over. And then select this one and pop it about there. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this one now. So I'll go Command D. And then I'm going to hold the shift key down and drag it down. The reason I'm holding the shift key down is just to keep everything aligned. And then I'm going to rotate it. So I'm again holding the shift key while I rotate. And I'll pop it there. Now I need to sort of make this sort of look the same up here as it does down here. So I probably need to nudge this down a bit. I'm just pressing the up and down arrows on my keyboard to do this. That actually looks pretty much spot on. Okay, so everything's ready to go. So all I need to do is click and drag from the right to highlight everything. And then come over to Weld. Now you'll notice we've got this sort of frame looking thing, and you can use that if you want to go with a frame look. Otherwise, if you just want the sort of background taggy look, then all you need to do is click on the shape, right click and ungroup. And then you can just drag this out, and you can use this as a different looking tag if you wish, or you can just delete it. But otherwise, there's your shape there. So we're just going to do a variation on that one. So come back to the text tool, click on the screen and type in your bracket. So it's the shift key and the bracket key. And I'm going to bring this up and just rotate it. So I'm holding the shift key down while I do that. And I might even stretch it out a little bit. And I want a duplicate of this. So I'm going to go Command D and then drag that duplicate down by holding the shift key down. And then rotate as well. Okay, now I grab a rectangle and I'm going to draw a rectangle, something like that. And I want the corners rounded, so that's over on the Shape Properties tab. And I'm going to click on Corner Radius just to round those edges. I might go with something like that. Now all I need to do is really center these, so I'm going to click and drag from the right. Oops, I need to undo that because I need to select the select tool to do that. And I'm click and drag from the right. And then come up to the alignment tools, click on that and align center. Okay, now everything's still selected, so all I need to do now is come over to the Weld tool and click there. And that's our shape done. Now you can see we get sometimes you'll get this sort of thing happen. If that's the case, all you need to do is click on the shape, right click and ungroup it. And then you can click on each of these little shapes here and delete. Okay, and you can adjust this shape too. I think it's a little bit sort of wide and wonky, so I'll probably drag it in from the side just to make it the shape I'm after. So remember, you can play around with any of those brackets using different fonts and you'll get all sorts of different shapes. And that's it for this video, and don't forget to subscribe because there'll be more to come.